50 years. The Mirius Group at AmeripriseAdvisors.com.
Political polarization pushes people apart, but writer Chloe Valdary says we can close those divisions by allowing for one simple thing, the possibility that we can still be enchanted by the people around us.
When you remember this about your neighbor and you act accordingly, there will be less unnecessary suffering and less unnecessary pain in the world.
That's on the next On Point.
Weekdays at 7 on Radio IQ. You know when you're driving and you get to your destination, but the story you're listening to isn't finished? Well, take it with you. Download the Radio IQ app for your smartphone. It's free, easy to use, and will let you keep moving with the pace of the world.
My colleague Joe Renison explains why the market has stayed so strong in such volatile times and what we know about how long this can really last. So let's talk about some of those underlying concerns, these warning signs in the markets. What are you seeing?
So one of the most obvious would be gold. Gold has been rising for a while at this point, but it's really taken off in recent months. We've gone above $4,000 on gold for the first time. And the signal that sends is one of worry. Why do people buy gold? It doesn't offer any return. It's not going to enrich you in the way that maybe a rapidly rising stock will. You go there because you don't want to lose money. Right. It's less about making money. It's more about not losing that money. And we've seen central banks around the world move more into gold. That's a bit of a shift away from dollar assets. That's a concern about the sort of safety and soundness of US markets kind of continuing in the way that they have for so long. We're also seeing some of that reflected in money moving away from the US stock market. Yes, we have these big tech companies that are leading and are at the forefront of AI. But we've also had that for a while. So there's been a lot of money come in from international markets into the US market, chasing those returns. We're starting to see that ebb a little bit. We're seeing more money going into European markets or other emerging markets as people dial down some of their exposure to the US.
Got it. What else?
Perhaps one of the most obvious or classic signs of concern is in defaults. So companies unable to pay their debts back and actually going into either bankruptcy or having to negotiate with their creditors. We saw this recently in the subprime auto lending space. It does hint and show there is some fraying of the strength of the consumer that has driven the economy since the pandemic. And there is some sign that consumers are coming under strain. If that follows through, you can see how that lowers consumer spending at big box stores. You can then see how that flows through into the stock market as revenues decline for some of those companies and things like that.
It sounds like more than just a red flag for markets. Those rising defaults are a sign that like a growing number of people in the regular real economy are struggling.
Yeah, it is. But it is still at the margin.
Okay, but we know, obviously, that the U.S.-China trade negotiations have not been resolved.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that this month with some of the back and forth between D.C. and Beijing, where, Trump comes out, sort of threatens these 100% tariffs on China, and that prompted a very strong reaction. It shows this sensitivity to the unknown, to the potential for a crisis coming out of left field. There are definitely still these risks looming out there, and investors are sensitive to them.
So, Joe, how should we be interpreting these warning signs? Is it a signal that the historic run that we've been on is about to end?
I don't know. It's kind of fascinating in a sort of purely intellectual way, but it's also baffling in its own right to see how little effect maybe some of the things that we think of as being very impactful in our own lives have not necessarily translated into financial markets. But it also, hopefully, at the end of this conversation, makes a little bit of sense in the sense that the reality that companies are dealing with, the reality that investors are dealing with, is not that bad.
I think a lot of people will feel maddened by some of this, especially those who are being affected by Trump's policies.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of thousands of federal workers who don't have a job, or the small businesses who are struggling with tariffs.
Yeah, you're right. People certainly did come into this year expecting markets to be more of a guardrail than they have been. But, when investors are actually confronted with the landscape in front of them, they have to consider the good and the bad. Companies are earning. We've had double-digit earnings growth in the first quarter and in the second quarter, and we're looking like we might get it in the third quarter as well as we go into earnings season now. And, when you consider the attack on Fed independence, when you consider some of the more extreme policies that have kind of come out from this administration, when you consider all these things, do you think Nvidia or Google or Apple, these big companies, are not going to be making a lot of money in 5 years or 2 years? Mm-hmm. I think they're probably going to be doing all right. And I don't often have opinions. That's pretty much the mildest opinion I think anyone can have out there.
I think so.
And so, sometimes it's just answering a different question than the one investors are asking of it. And that's kind of why we are where we are.
You're saying basically that the markets are filtering all the noise of the volatility in this Trump term, or maybe investors are just holding their nose because they can't resist the pull of AI.
Yeah, I speak to a lot of investors who have talked about how they've evolved their investment process a little bit this year, learning somewhat from the first Trump term, but then also just trying to really, as you said, filter out the noise. What's real? If Joe Biden had tweeted something that resembled a policy announcement one random afternoon, then markets would have responded to it. We don't have that level of reaction function now because there is a sense that, and I do not mean this with any kind of value judgment attached to it, but the sense, at least among investors, is that this administration says and does a lot of stuff that doesn't actually happen, that changes the next day. And so I think investors have really started to try not to react to those more superfluous things and instead focus on what's real, what's actually happened, what's actually been said and done, rather than what might happen. So
is there a way in which Trump has also affected the tolerance of investors for the actual things he's doing? Has he normalized these moves to the point where investors are just adapting to them?
Yeah. If you'd asked an economist in January what would introducing the highest tariffs in, a century do to the economy, I don't think they'd have said, well, I'm pretty sure the S&P 500 will be at a new record.
Right.
But we are in that position. So we can look at what companies are doing in response to these increased costs. We can see whether they're trying to absorb those costs or pass them on to consumers. And certainly for the first half of the year, it looked like they were absorbing those costs. Now it's looking like they're beginning to start passing those on to consumers. That would potentially be another warning sign. But you actually end up just having to look at what's really happening, not the sort of gut check or emotional response to what's happening. It has to be the reality of it and how does it affect company profitability. We could easily see a future in which the sort of positives driving the market continue to outweigh, and I can see a future where some of those negatives that are beginning to creep in could also outweigh. But at least for now, a lot of the worst fears that were sort of surrounding this stuff at the beginning of the year have not been met yet.
Well, Joe, thanks so much.
Thank you.
The Daily is supported by Seed. Seed's DS-01 is a 24-strain 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic engineered to survive digestion, support healthy regularity, and promote whole body health. Learn more at seed.com/public.
Innovative, immersive, and skillfully investigated. The Daily brings listeners today's stories as only the New York Times can report them. For more on today's episode, go to nytimes.com/The Daily.
The Daily is powered by the journalism of the New York Times and is distributed by APM, American Public Media. You can go deeper into the stories you hear on The Daily at nytimes.com/The Daily. That's it for The Daily. I'm Natalie Kitroeff. See you tomorrow.
From the ongoing impacts of Helene
The down material from that is definitely changing the risk.
to groundbreaking hail research
The LED array I have produces about 30% more light than the sun.
to learning more about former president and citizen meteorologist Thomas Jefferson,
He was a very busy man.
Commonwex is all about helping you learn more about the weather and climate that impacts us all, with stories from Virginia and beyond. Sign up for the monthly newsletter at radioiq.org.
You're listening to Radio IQ on WVTF Roanoke, WRIQ Charles City Richmond, WVTU Charlottesville, WVTW Charlottesville, WVTR Marion, WISE FM Wise, WQIQ Spotsylvania, WIUR Lexington, WEHC Emory, HD3 of WURV Richmond, and on 92.5 Richmond and 94.9 Fredericksburg. Radio IQ, a listener-supported community service of Virginia Tech, on your smart speaker and online at radioiq.org.
Political polarization is pushing people apart. Writer Chloe Valdery says we can close those divisions by allowing for one thing, the possibility that we can still be enchanted by the people around us.
If enough of us begin to remember and practice remembering daily that we are the very frequency of love itself, when you remember this about your neighbor and you act accordingly, there will be less unnecessary suffering in the world. And it is not that there will be less heartbreak, but rather that you will learn
Good evening and welcome to our 7 o'clock p.m. session of Roanoke City Council on Monday, December 20th. I'm going to ask our clerk, Ms. McCoy, to please call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Here.
Mr. Nash.
Here.
Mr. Vollison.
Here.
Ms. Powers.
Here.
Mr. Hagan.
Here.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones.
Here.
And Mayor Carr.
Here.
Mayor Carr.
And a quorum is present. Thank you. I'm pleased to welcome the Reverend Vannie Harrell, lead pastor at Church Alive International, to lead our invocation, and then I'll lead our Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight knowing that you are the maker of heaven and earth. We acknowledge you. We know that we are here because of your divine plan and your power. We exist, we're held together by your word. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And tonight we come to you here on behalf of the city of Roanoke, our piece of this earth that you've given us to steward. Lord, your word says in Jeremiah that we're to seek the peace, the welfare, the prosperity of the city where you have sent us. For as the city prospers, then we will prosper. As the city has peace, we will have peace. So tonight we turn our hearts to you and we ask, as your word says, for peace in Roanoke, for welfare, for prosperity. Lord God, we ask for your blessing on this city. And tonight we turn our hearts to your heart. May our thoughts be turned to your thoughts and your plans and your will for this city and this region, for we know that you look upon us and you love cities, Lord. Guide our leaders now to steward well the affairs of this city. May your wisdom be their wisdom. May your voice be the only voice that they follow. I pray peace on this meeting tonight, celebration, gladness of heart. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
This time I'd like to invite Sheila Umberger, our Director of Libraries, and Doug Jackson, our Arts and Culture Coordinator, for a presentation of the Ramey Art Collection, and then I'll join you all with a proclamation. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council and City Manager. We appreciate the opportunity to update you on the David Ramey Collection. So last month we were delighted to welcome the art and journals of David Ramey Sr. to the archives of the Gainesboro Branch Library. So this collection consists of over 600 pieces drawn from his memory. Mr. David Ramey brings back important memories and views of historic Henry Street and other areas of the neighborhood. Preserving this local archive is a key mission of the Roanoke Public Libraries and vital to our community story. Do I have to point? Is it this one? Okay, thank you. I want to start with a little more detail because I want to give you a snapshot of the detailed descriptions we are adding to each drawing as we scan the images for preservation to create a searchable database. These descriptions would allow us and another customer to search and see, for example, all images in the collection from Henry Street or Beryl Hospital or other areas. And they allow, so I want you to allow me to read this potent example, this poignant example. So this particular image shows the active demolition of Henry Street. An orange bulldozer is at the center of the image, and it pushes away bricks and other debris. A sign in the bottom left reads Nick's, referring to Nick's Cafe on Henry Street. The Ebony Club is still standing on the right side of the image. The power line has been cut off and is dangling toward the ground on the demolition site. Several workers are at the scene. Tall buildings are in the background, as well as a dump truck and a crane with a wrecking ball attached. So some of the things we're doing in our descriptions also from Mr. Ramey's journals, as well as keywords that could be searched by a researcher. So here are two more images and drawings, and you will recognize Mr. Ramey's love for the railroad. He worked for the railroad, and our iconic Mill Mountain Star. When we looked at this, we feel like it is so Roanoke and so beautiful. It is primarily Mr. Ramey also used ink and colored pencil to create all of his beautiful images. On this slide, I want to share, these last two images are of a store in the neighborhood called, we believe that they were known for their sweet potato pie and their apple pie. I wish we could bring this back. They said it was the best sweet potato pie ever and the best apple pie in Roanoke. So this is titled by Mr. Ramey, The Pie Man. And then, of course, the Ebony Club, the toasting couple at the Ebony Club, which is alive with music and dancing. And it is amazing just transporting and putting these drawings into archival boxes. When we went down to the Taubman, as you know, last year, the Taubman had a wonderful exhibition of Mr. Ramey's works. The color details and the images of familiar and often lost spaces was really emotional for us. It is fitting that this collection is forever to be housed at the Gainsborough branch as it comes back to the heart of our neighborhood. So we are so honored to preserve, protect, and make this important local information accessible to everyone. Now I'd really like to introduce the team that made this possible. We've been working on this for about 2 years, so it's been a really moving, collaborative project. And so I would like to invite Doug up. Doug from the Arts is the Arts and Culture Coordinator, and he has been amazing to work with and has been spearheading a lot of this, as well as I'd like to acknowledge William, I'm going to face it away from the audience, as well as William Penn, who's chair of the Roanoke Arts Commission, Demetrius Johnson, who works with collections, and from libraries, Megan Mizak, who is the branch manager at Gainsborough, and Kaylin Wigger, as well as Nathan Flincham and Amber Lowry. And also from the Taubman, Cindy Peterson, who is head of the Taubman Museum, as well as Sonny Nelson, Laura Higgins, and Mary Legoo, thank you. Mary's the one we worked the most with, but we called her Mary, so I know her last name. But Mary was very good. When we went down to pick up the 600-some drawings, we worked really collaboratively to get them safely back to Gainsborough last month. So also, I want to acknowledge I also wanted to acknowledge that David Ramey Jr. Was not able to be here tonight, but we have enjoyed working with him for a number of years because it is so amazing. Probably the most amazing part of this whole collection is he has drawn, his father had drew from memory places that don't look like they do now, and also places that are lost but are captured in his memory. And we know from our photograph collections that these are the only images of certain parts of it. There was a library yard park. I'm like, where is this? And I'm like, it's on the side of the Gainsborough Library. It was like a beautiful park. So it's really, we were very touched through the whole thing. There's also people that he has drawn, as well as like a card that was Mrs. Burrell's card that everybody talks about. We have drawings of that, of their house, and places that just don't exist anymore, but they exist because local history is so important to preserve. So again, I would like to acknowledge everybody. This was a huge team effort, a huge lift, and I believe it'll be a treasured part of the Roanoke archives for the libraries forever.
Sheila, thank you and the libraries and the Ramey family for this extraordinary collection. I I don't know how many people got to see, the collection was so large that half of it was in the Taubman and half of it was at the Harrison Museum of African American Culture. And the thing that was so special to me about it was not only the renderings, the paintings he did, but the essays that he wrote, and all of these from memory. So it just conveys to us the importance of telling our stories and the different artistic ways that we can do so. Tonight also, as many of you are coming in, out in the hallway, we have a new exhibit up. Doug, I'm going to have you say a brief word about that for folks who may have just kind of wandered in and wondered what was going on in the hallway. But this is the fourth new exhibit we've been able to do with a themed curated show here in the hallway. So why don't you say a little bit about that, and then we'll do the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Vice Mayor McGuire, council members, City Manager Turner, thank you so much for making the fourth floor hallway available for art. You know, we have a rich public art collection in the community, and the 15 volunteer members of the Roanoke Arts Commission are charged with being stewards of that. And we also like to freshen that up with these temporary shows. And the temporary shows are a way for us to invite the community into their building. And we did a call that followed a book club. It was a discussion of Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, which was written over 50 years ago by Annie Dillard when she had just finished at Hollins, and she won a Pulitzer Prize at a very young age. And it is an invitation for us to pause and be present and appreciate and look at the world around us. And we asked artists, we had an 8-week book club, and not everybody's geared for that or wants to spend their Tuesday evenings doing that, but this group really did, and we had some really fantastic conversations, and then we had workshops out on Tinker Creek, and there were poetry, how to write nature poetry workshop. We looked at the insects, the indicator species in the river. We did a mindfulness walk, and then we asked artists to reflect on their own contemplative practice and their connection to nature. And we believe that there's some power in that. And it can help us be a stronger community. It can help us work better together in our neighborhoods. And the fourth floor hallway now has 30 images. And they are really powerful images and performances. And we are, over the next year, we're going to invite the community and artists for community building talks. And we do those before the evening council meetings. So if someone's going to come on down to council, they can come a little bit early and hear an artist talk about their work and their practice. And it's another way that we think the arts are helping us create every day the place we want to be in Roanoke, Virginia. Thank you.
Whereas for more than 3 decades, the month of October has been recognized as National Arts and Humanities Month by arts and cultural organizations, communities, states, and the United States Congress. Whereas the arts and humanities, including music, dance, drama, visual arts, and literature, embody much of the accumulated wisdom and imagination of humankind. Whereas the humanities help residents and leaders of our diverse city explore the history, cultures, and hope of our people in building a better future together. Whereas as a sector of the city's economy, arts and cultural activities generate an estimated $64 million of activity in a given year. Whereas the city's arts and humanities related partners, including businesses, nonprofit organizations, and individual artists, are providing thoughtful and innovative approaches to inspire, engage, enlighten, and connect us to each other, fostering a vibrant and creative city. Whereas 30 new artworks featured in this year's Pilgrims at the Creek exhibition on the 4th floor of the municipal building celebrate more than 50 years of publication of Annie Dillard's Pilgrim at Tinker Creek and explore the power of our presence in understanding, appreciating, and stewarding the surprising natural places of our city. And whereas the arts and humanities enhance and enrich the lives of every Roanoke citizen, providing individual wellness benefits. Now, therefore, I, Joseph L. Cobb, Mayor of the City of Roanoke, call upon its citizens to celebrate, promote, and participate in arts and cultural activities in the Roanoke Valley, and to hereby proclaim October 2025 throughout this great 8-time All-America city as National Arts and Humanities Month. Thank you.
Thank you, city officials, for that wonderful proclamation and for giving us support, because we do have a vibrant and wide art community in Roanoke. And with your support, we're able to grow and grow. And this art commission is made up of 15 of the most wonderful people I've ever worked with. And if you're in the building, I'd like for you to stand up, please. Any commissioners? And also, are there any artists in that have any work out in the hallway? Would you stand, please? This was an undertaking, and with the leadership of Doug, we're able to do a whole lot in the city of Roanoke, and I hope you will continue to support us and help us grow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may we comment?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry.
Yeah. I just want to say that we have such a great all-star cast out here when it comes to arts in the city, and I'm very excited for the new exhibit here on the 4th floor. We really believe in the arts here in Roanoke, and that shows. It's here. It is one of the biggest things that brings people to this valley, and so thank you all for everything you do to keep us as one of those leaders in arts here in the state.
Thank you. Yes. Anybody else from council want to share any comments or reflections? All right. Thank you all. We'll move now into our public hearings. And our first is a request of CSW Associates, Roanoke LC, and CSW Brandon Frontage regarding a property at 0 Brandon Avenue Southwest. We have one measure and ordinance, and I need a motion and second, please.
Make the motion.
Thank you, council members Powers and Volleson. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to repeal, to repeal ordinance number 33098-090396, adopted September 3rd, 1996, to the extent that it placed certain conditions on a portion of certain property located on 3840 Stratford Park Drive Southwest, bearing official tax map number 5200122. 2, to repeal ordinance number 25825-112381, to the extent that it's placed certain conditions on certain property located on 0 Brandon Avenue Southwest, bearing official tax map number 5200104. And 3, to place new conditions on a portion of the property at 3840 Stratford Park Drive Southwest, bearing official tax map number 5200122, and the entirety of 0 Brandon Avenue Southwest, bearing official tax map number 5200104, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ben Crew, agent, is here with us tonight, as well as Catherine Gray, who's representing the Planning Commission. Mr. Crew, would you like to offer any words or just be available for questions?
Be happy to be available for any questions this evening.
It should be noted that the City Planning Commission recommends approval of this. So I will open the public hearing. And Madam Clerk, do we have citizens wishing to be heard on this item?
No, not on this item.
Okay. I will close the public hearing and ask for any comments by council. Ms. Sanchez-Jones.
I have seen in the map that this project is mostly on floodplains. So I would like to know what are the plans to mitigate the flood in that area?
Officially, good evening, members of council. Ben Crew with Balzer and Associates, agent on behalf of the request. And Ms. Sanchez, I appreciate your question. And Paige Pruitt is here with me this evening, the property owner, and so be happy to work through any questions that you have. But you are correct, yes. So the property is encumbered by floodplain, and our plan is to fill the site and raise the proposed buildings up to meet the zoning ordinance requirements for that, which is 2 feet above the 100-year floodplain elevation. And so all the buildings will be elevated up out of the floodplain after construction is complete.
All the buildings, including the ones on the left side?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they're all required per the zoning ordinance and building code to be above the floodplain. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Ms.
So
Powers?
will that eliminate people when they purchase it, that they won't have to purchase flood insurance?
That is correct. So as part of the development process, we'll remove a portion of that property where the houses are located so that they will not have to purchase flood insurance for their individual units.
And who does those approvals to say that, yes, the floodplain is corrected and approves it?
So 2 parts to that. First part is construction documents are submitted to the city of Roanoke as part of the comp plan review. And so that's kind of the first step. And then the second step is a handful of documents are submitted to FEMA, and they also review and approve that process.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Watched the planning commission meeting when they approved it, and it was mentioned some type of dam. Then I saw it. There's a dam, something like a. It said like a dam with like the flooding. Is there like a dam in like the floodplain way or?
Yes. So there are a couple of different ponds that are located in the Dyerly neighborhood, and so there's a zone that comes down through the Dyerly neighborhood, comes across Brandon Avenue, comes through this property, and continues all the way to the Roanoke River. And so there's a plan in place as far as a study that was done. There's an emergency action plan. The Dyerly neighborhood actually does a really, really great job with their documentation associated with that, because it's the property owner's responsibility to provide that. And so all that information is available on DCR's website because they're the regulatory body as part of that. And so we are aware of that, but it's a responsibility of the property owner of the actual lake, which in this case is a corporation. So, yes, that's the background on that.
I saw that, and I was thinking, like, where is there a dam in Roanoke? I'm like, what?
Yes.
I'm searching everywhere in my head.
That's right.
I'm like, I can't think of where a dam is.
That's right.
And then my second question is, I understand that these are going to be market rate, but do we know at what price point that is right now off of national data, local data? What are townhomes kind of selling for right now?
So we don't have an exact price point yet, because we're going to partner with either a local, regional, or national builder for this construction. So I don't have an exact price point for that yet. So I can't share an exact number with you this evening.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one more question. I just realized it. When I was reading all this stuff about the traffic studies that you did, wow, that was a lot. So explain to me the peak times that you used to come up with, the turning lanes and all. What are those peak times?
I'd love to spend 6 hours in this meeting walking through all the details, but I think everyone would leave the room, including you all. But essentially, let me back up just a little bit. So prior to us filing this zoning action, first thing we started with after meeting with staff was the traffic study. because we knew it was important. We knew we wanted to walk through it. We wanted to make sure the city was comfortable with it. And so we actually started in that in spring or May of this year, and worked through that and made sure that the city had concurrence with that prior to filing our application, okay? And there's a lot of geometry, breakdowns, and matrix that you put together, but essentially you look at traffic in an AM peak and a PM peak, which is 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the evening. And so those are kind of the major areas of study that are part of the report.
I was happy to see that you did get approval from the emergency vehicle, so it looks like that all went through.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
That's reflected in the voluntary proffered conditions that we provided as part of the project.
Thank you for all that report, though. It was a lot to read.
Vice Mayor? Thank you. I want to follow up on some of the questions about the floodplain to make sure I understand this correctly. So the floodplain maps, are they being updated anytime soon from like the national powers that be? Is it FEMA that sets those?
It is FEMA.
Are they in the process, are they set for a while, or are they being in the process of being updated?
Big picture answer is they update certain sections of it based on improvements within a certain area, right? So when Roanoke City did improvements for the bench cuts along Roanoke River, those sections were just updated, but I don't have any knowledge that this section is being revised imminently.
I'm just wondering, we're getting more and more extreme weather, and so a 100-year floodplain means a 1% chance of it happening in any given year. That's happening more often.
Sure.
And if these homes are going to be raised 2 feet above the 100-year floodplain, if they have a flood incident, which wouldn't be that uncommon, they're in a floodplain right on Barnhart Creek, and they don't have flood insurance, what would happen to those homeowners?
I'm not sure what part of your insurance would take over depending on the damage associated with that, right? I'm not an insurance agent, and there's a lot of parts that go along with that, not just water intrusion, but there's a wind component, there's another damage component if something is floating down the creek or something like that. And so I don't know that I could particularly comment on how the insurance would apply to a damage situation like that.
Just wondering, people are going to buy a house and then have a flood in 7 years or 5 years and say, well, if only we'd known we didn't have flood insurance and now we're out tens of thousands of dollars. Is there any way, I mean, I guess, is that on the homeowner in any situation like this to do the research to see, what was done to prevent flooding? We know we're in a floodplain. Do you provide that notice to them?
As part of the purchase process, there's certainly a due diligence side that is a responsibility of the purchaser. And there's a million different situations depending on the real estate that's being purchased that could be positive or negative associated with it.
Thank you. And one follow-up, what's our due diligence on the city side to make sure that we are protecting that riparian zone along Barnhart Creek? How close does your development get to that, and what kind of stormwater runoff mitigation practices are employed, or what are what should we know about that when housing or any kind of construction is being built in the city of Roanoke along a waterway? What are the rules that we follow or try to follow?
Sure. The zoning ordinance provide guidelines as part of the River and Creek Corridor Overlay District that this property falls into. There's certain distances that are required from top of bank into the property that cannot be cleared. They can be crossed in certain areas with roads or utilities, but they cannot be just wholesale cleared along the creek. And so those are development standards for a property that is coming before you all as a zoning amendment, or a property that is a by right development that's submitted. And the process of kind of checks and balances lies within the Planning, Building, and Development Department. Because we're just talking about a zoning process here, and then there's another whole process that we go through as far as development review, where all the folks on the first floor review the submitted documents thoroughly and then address that or provide comments as part of the project.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure.
Questions?
And I think, Madam Clerk, we are ready to call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan? Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you all. Item 2 is a request of Mar Roanoke LLC to rezone the property located at 5060 Valley View Boulevard Northwest from CG, Commercial General District, to INPUD, Institutional Planned Unit Development District. Ben Cruz, the agent and spokesperson. The Planning Commission continued this matter until its November 10th, 2025 meeting. Therefore, we will not hear this matter tonight. Item 3 is a public hearing for boundary amendments to the City of Roanoke Enterprise Zone. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second on the ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, Council Members Volleson and Sanchez Jones. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the proper city officials to make a boundary amendment to the city's Enterprise Zone 1A that will add certain areas not currently in it, authorizing the city manager or designee to apply to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development for approval of such boundary amendment, and to take such further action as may be necessary to obtain and implement such boundary amendment.
Thank you. Mark Nelson, who's our Director of Economic Development, is here. Mark, do you want to say any words? Okay. And I will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have any citizens wishing to be heard on this matter? Okay. I will close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council? All right, then I think we're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Our last item tonight is the hearing of citizens upon public matters. City Council sets this time as a priority for citizens to be heard. As you come forward tonight, some of you may be speaking for the first time in the chamber, so I want to give you a few instructions. Please come to the podium. We'll read names off one at a time, but we'll call 2 names at a time so you'll know that if you're number 2, you're up next. When you come to the podium, you'll see a box in the upper right-hand corner. It has a timer on it. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. The green light means go, the yellow light means you have a minute left, and red means stop. If you're in mid-sentence, I'll allow you to finish. We have a number of speakers tonight, so we want to honor each person's time. So we're going to stay as close to that as we can. I just ask that we be very respectful, that we listen to each other, because we all have important information that we've come to share and ask about tonight. So with that being our process tonight, I'll ask the clerk to call our first 2 speakers.
Our first speaker will be Waynette Anderson and Monique Bishop.
Welcome, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. Of course, I'm first, right? Good evening, Mayor Cobb. Thank you for the introduction, and City Council. Thank you for being here this evening and for the jobs that you do. I know it is a thankless job a lot of times, and we really appreciate your hard work on behalf of our city, as well as our city manager, Ms. Turner. My name is Waynette Anderson, and I own 2 businesses in the city of Roanoke, located at 2110 Shenandoah Valley Avenue and 325 Walnut Avenue, which is also known as Dr. Pepper Park at the Bridges. 32 years ago, I moved to this market because of the beauty, the scenery, and the warmth of the people. I started my business on my own 19 years ago, and I've grown it from there. Since we broke ground on Dr. Pepper Park, I have been fighting an uphill climb with a lot of crime down at the site for a number of different reasons. Some of those reasons involved some vacant warehouses that were not being properly maintained, and different ownerships. And due to the way that the laws were written about vacant properties, I was only allowed to do so much for what I was, what I was in control of. So in that period of 11 years that we've been at Dr. Pepper Park, we've been dealing with break-ins, encampments, physical assaults on my employees. This year alone, we've suffered 4 break-ins, vandalism, and 3 encampments, and it's not even been a full year. So for a number of years, I've felt like I was kind of on an island. I was on the outskirts of downtown. We did become in the downtown district in 2022, and some of the laws were changed, but those laws were not being enforced regarding on-site encampments that were near our property that were causing us a lot of issues. I was invited to a South Roanoke meeting recently. I saw that as an opportunity to join forces with people that were also having some similar issues so that I wasn't all alone. Through the course of that interaction, I have had feedback from a lot of people in our community that are suffering from this. I'm sorry, I'm emotional. From a lot of people that are suffering from the same things, that don't feel like they have a voice or don't feel like they have the time to come out and speak on their own behalf because they have children to raise and bills to pay. And so I've agreed to be their voice. These are people not from just one neighborhood. These are people from all over our city. I've been working with Chief of Police, Scott Booth. I believe that he is an agent of change and improvement for a lot of the things that the community is suffering.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to working together with all of you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Monique Bishop here? Yeah, welcome. Come on up. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm standing on behalf of BRAG, which stands for Bus Riders of Roanoke Advocacy Group. And recently we had our community debriefing for our week without driving. And that brought, as you can see, these signs that they're holding, showed things that needed to be improved within our transit system, things that were easy, things that were frustrating. And one of the major overarching themes of things that were frustrating and things that needed to change was the amount of time that it takes, such as, for example, transfer points. Currently, the way our current city transit is, you have to transfer downtown, then to another bus, and that creates a lot of time-consuming issues for a lot of people. And also with that, pedestrian safety. A lot of our bus shelters don't have adequate lighting, or there aren't any bus shelters. And then with that, a lot of the bus stops are not safe for people, especially one comes to mind, West Side and Melrose. There's no crosswalk. So it's very easy, especially in high traffic areas, for people to get hit, and so people aren't paying attention. So that's one thing that was frustrating. Also, bus passes that are kind of like debit cards that can be reloaded. That was one thing that was mentioned quite frequently. Also, maybe expanding the routes to like Roanoke County, Bonsack, things like that. So working with like other jurisdictions to collaborate to see how that could be possible. Anything else you want to add? Lighting. I think I mentioned that. The lighting, especially for bikes as well. On Shenandoah, especially early in the morning, people are traveling on their bikes and cars are almost hitting them because they're wearing like dark clothes and they don't have like adequate lighting on their bikes. So kind of making sure that is something. Also on the Greenway, maybe the infrastructure could be better to accommodate bikes and pedestrians as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next two speakers.
Virginia Hannah Becker and Jordan Bell.
I'm Virginia Pannebecker, and I'm just going to add a few more things. I'm also here on behalf of BRAG, the Bus Riders of Roanoke Advocacy Group, that held the Week Without Driving along with Pedal Safe Roanoke, and that you just heard Monique also talk about. In addition to the points that she highlighted, wanted to reference that you all also have a copy of the report that has the comments in detail, so you can reference it later, I believe. And thank you all to the staff for making a copy of that for you all to have. We wanted to also just highlight a few other examples that, including even within the city, there are some route issues, like there are schools you can only get to by car, for example, James Madison Middle School, and that there are a few other crossings or crossing areas that you'll see in that report that were highlighted as particularly dangerous, such as Brandon and Franklin, going towards the Tower Shopping Center, where there's no crossing light at all. The lights hang, it's like a 3-street intersection. It's really odd, and pedestrians can't even see the lights when they're crossing. There's also no sidewalks near on Colonial Avenue near Towers or going towards Virginia Western. And then some other things that people would really like, which I think Monique may have already mentioned, but one big one is just more frequent stops. So right now, buses only run once an hour. On Saturdays, many routes, it's once every 2 hours. Consider how many errands you might get done in a car on a weekend, for example. If it's Saturday and I need to go to the grocery store, I want to get something from a hardware store, and I need to stop by somewhere else, I might have to just choose to do 1 or 2 of those, and it could take the whole day or most of it. So more stops and more routes would be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Bell.
Good evening. Can I hand you all some things before I start?
Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and City Manager Turner. My name is Jordan Bell, and I am here to talk on the apology that the City of Roanoke plans to give for the urban renewal plans that were started in 1955. An apology is a regretful acknowledgement of an offense or failure, but words, no matter how sincere, are not enough without action. I am here to speak about the apology this city plans to offer for the devastation of urban renewal. An apology must be more than ceremonial. It must be followed by tangible action and change that people can see, feel, and benefit for generations. A quick history of urban renewal. In 1955, a plan was set in motion that will forever alter Roanoke and the African-American community that devastated 2 Black historical communities. Northeast Roanoke, where the Berglund Center is, the post office, Magic City Ford, and the gas company, and Gainesboro. This plan was not the work of one agency or office. It was led by the federal government, the Roanoke Redevelopment and Housing Authority, private developers, and Roanoke City Council. Urban renewal was not just a policy failure, but it was an ethical failure, according to Dr. Reginald Sharif. Over 1,600 homes, hundreds of Black-owned businesses, dozens of churches and schools, and even cemeteries were completely destroyed through these policies. For more than 40 years or more, no urban renewal project or policy has directly benefited the people that it displaced. Let me say it plainly. Not one major policy, development, or investment born out of urban renewal has served the people that it harmed. When this apology was first thought of, the city of Roanoke had $10 million in federal funds that was supposed to go to rehabbing the Gainesboro community. Today, that amount that has already been spent has been dwindled to $5 million. And that money has been spent on road repair, a playground that is still outside of the neighborhood, and a handful of home repairs. Gainesboro had hundreds of businesses. Today in 2025, Gainesboro has not one African-American business. Dr. Sharif wrote a study in 1991, which I handed to you this evening, and he talks about the economic impact of urban renewal. Richard Chubb, who is here this evening, who I turn to for everything that I need and for wisdom, has repeatedly said that urban renewal was the most devastating mental health crisis he has ever experienced. And this is a gentleman who grew up in a segregated city. For 89 years, Richard Chubb has lived in the Northwest community. From the time he graduated Lucy Addison High School until he was principal at Harrison School, he saw the city that he grew up in ripped away piece by piece.
Mr.
So,
Bell, all right, can you?
Yes, I will wrap it up.
Thank you.
So what must we do? 3 suggestions. Return city-owned land in Gainesboro to trusted community-led organizations. Provide direct payment of reparations to families impacted. And build a lasting community partnership that oversees reinvestment with transparency, trust, and shared leadership. And I promise I'll wrap it up with this. In 1995, journalist Mary Bishop wrote Street by Street, Block by Block, detailing the destruction of urban renewal. Former councilwoman Mary Pickett was quoted in that article calling Gainesboro an eyesore and saying it had to be done. Well, in 2025, with the support of the community, I stand before you today to say what had to be done then must now be undone today. Because if this city truly wants to heal, the apology must come with repair, partnership, and change behavior. Otherwise, the apology itself becomes a new injustice, and that will be the real eyesore. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
The next 2 speakers.
Yes, please.
Will be Emma Kaufman and Jessica King.
Ms. Hoffman, welcome.
Good evening, members of the council. I'm Emma Kaufman. This is my first time here. So I live just a few minutes walk to the Berglund Center. And tonight I'm here as a mother of 2 young children and someone who deeply loves this city. I'm here to express my opposition to the casino proposal at the Berglund Center. I'm asking you to reconsider the proposal to bring a casino to Roanoke. I believe it would move us further away from the kind of community we want to build, one that is safe, one that is healthy, and one that is rooted in connection. A casino doesn't strengthen a community. It profits from its struggles. It may promise short-term revenue, but it brings long-term cost, addiction, financial hardship, and social strain. Roanoke is already rich in beauty and potential. We have the mountains and the trails. Just look at all the art that was spoke about earlier. In a spirit of resilience that money can't buy, instead of building a space that encourages escape, let's build one that inspires growth. a family-friendly educational center, a children's museum, a community wellness hub. Spaces like those bring people together, teaching our children and uplifting everyone who walks through the doors. We have a chance to invest in something that reflects the best of Roanoke, our nature, creativity, and compassion. Please don't gamble that away. Let's choose a future that our children will thank us for. Thank you.
Thank you. King, welcome.
Mayor Cobb, City Council. My name is Jessica King, and I was asked to come and speak, and sometimes it's really hard. So I was born here in Roanoke, Virginia, born and raised Southeast Roanoke. I work for a local nonprofit on our own of the Roanoke Valley. We've been here for 32 years. We support people who have mental health and substance use disorder. Drop-in center open 365 days a year. This includes holidays. We are open from about 11 a.m. till about 4 p.m. each day. I need to throw that resource out here because I was asked to come and speak about the homeless situation that is going on. It's a growing issue, I know, for the people who live here in the valley, but also for the people experiencing it. And I come before you to ask for the city's help in the resources that are already here. Once again, we're a nonprofit. We work off pennies, peanuts, right? But we're here every day helping people get the resources they need. Giving the empathy, not sympathy, right? Standing in their shoes. And I was asked to speak because I am a person with the lived experience of being an addict for 12 years, being homeless for 3 years. It took 3 years just to recover from being homeless for 3 years. Now I work, right? I have no government assistance, no food stamps, no rent, no nothing. So I want to stand here as people start talking about the situation as hope. And like the woman said, maybe that peace that people need to know that people can change their life if given the right resources. We need affordable housing. We need places for people to go. So thank you for letting me stand here and share that.
Thank you very much.
The next two speakers, James Creasy and Ananya Misra.
I don't see Mr. Creasy. What was the other name?
Ananya.
Ananya. Welcome.
Thank you all. Good evening, and thank you all for giving me the chance to speak here. I am a physician who's had the privilege of taking care of patients here in Roanoke, and I should say that the views I'm sharing tonight are my own and not those of my employer. So as a physician, I'm always, guided by data. That's what we do. But what drives me to show up to work every day and take care of people is the love that I have for the people who I get to take care of. And both of those things have led me to be here this evening to express my gratitude for the work that the city is starting to do to provide safe and accessible housing for my patients. And for the Hope and Home Task Force that includes people with lived experience to help guide that work. Studies performed in the United States show that providing housing to people who are unhoused actually reduces crime, increases employment, and reduces healthcare costs. That data actually echoes my own experiences. As I was thinking about what I would say here today, I thought of a patient who I took care of last week, who was a young man from Roanoke who told me that his greatest wish was just to have a roof over his head when he left the hospital, because if he had that roof over his head, he'd be able to get a job, restart his life, in his words, and be there for his 2 young children. I also really can't put into words how heartbreaking it is to take care of patients who don't have access to housing. Just think for a second, imagine for a second with me, you know, seeing the same face every day, taking care of that person first thing every morning, helping them to get better day by day, only for them to have to return to living on the street when they leave and not having shelter. That wrecks me because I know that having access to housing would make the difference between them staying healthy and moving forward in their lives, or them coming back to the hospital in a few weeks even sicker than when I first met them. Finally, as someone who's currently taking care of people with substance use disorders in this city, I can tell you that being treated as a criminal because your disease does not afford you a place to live has never been proven to actually be effective. We have a lot of data to show what does work, from housing first models of care to harm reduction, and we're really lucky, as someone just said earlier, to have several organizations who are already modeling this work in Roanoke who are definitely deserving of your support. Thank you again for giving me this chance to speak up on behalf of my patients and for doing the work to help connect people in Roanoke with affordable housing, because you are literally saving lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next two speakers, Adam Mastrangelo and Rebecca Murphy.
Welcome, Mr. Mastrangelo.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to address Roanoke City Council regarding the developments on Brandon Avenue. I'm Adam Mastrangelo, and I live at 3528 Windsor Oak Circle, and I'm president of the Greater Direly Neighborhood Association. During Greater Direly's September meeting, our guest speaker, Ms. Paige Pruitt from CSW Associates, provided us with an overview of the Brandon Station project. Today, I'd like to focus on two concerns that were brought up. First, will there be additional stoplights on Brandon Avenue? And second, how will this development affect the traffic in the Greater Direly neighborhood? Going all the way back to the 1990 Greater Direly Neighborhood Plan, our issues have been through traffic and pedestrian safety on primary residential streets. The primary streets are two-lane and have winding alignments. They do not have defined shoulders, curbs, gutters, or sidewalks. Drainage ditches are the means of channeling stormwater. In 2025, 35 years later, the configuration of those primary streets hasn't changed. As stated in the current 2006 Greater Direly Plan, quote, "Overall, Greater Direly is not conducive to pedestrian movement," unquote. Our reality is very different than the vision promoted by Roanoke City's Vision Zero and Complete Streets program. In 1992, the City of Roanoke and GD&A entered into a memorandum of understanding. Its intention was to give particular attention to increased traffic volumes caused by the new Peters Creek Road extension being built. Annual reports of traffic volumes on 6 specific streets were made. When there was a 25% increase in traffic volumes on any street, the city would initiate a process to seek mitigating measures. Comparing Greater Direly's March 2002 MOU traffic count data with GD&A's recently collected October 2025 data, the traffic volume has increased by 25.2%, or 771 vehicles per day. However, from 2002 to 2024, the number of residential and multifamily dwellings has only increased by 105. With the expansion at Brandon Oaks, the proposed 195 new townhomes, and the new 80-room at-home extended stay hotel all feeding onto Brandon, consideration must be given to, 1, the future control of increased traffic volumes through the Greater Direly neighborhood, and 2, possibly a traffic circle or a light at the intersection of Brandon and Direly. I'd like to ask that the city begin working with Greater Direly as soon as possible to help us address these concerns. Thank you for your time, consideration, and what you do for our city.
Thank you. Ms. Murphy, welcome.
Good evening, Council and Ms. Turner. My name is Rebecca Murphy, and I am a board member of the Roanoke City Council of PTAs, a mother, and someone who has witnessed the effects of systemic racism, redlining, and urban renewal in this city. Something every person in this room has also seen, whether they chose to pay attention. On the historical and cultural implications of this casino, there are concerns. The location of the Berglund Center was procured by urban renewal, where between 1950 and 1980, the city stole and demolished 1,600 homes, 200 businesses, 24 churches in the Gainsborough and Black community of Roanoke. A literal stone's throw away across the street from the Berglund Center and potential casino is Old Lick Cemetery. I know Mr. Cobb is familiar with the history, but for those who are not, in 1961, Roanoke disinterred 933 deceased family members of our local Black community and dumped them in a mass grave in Botetourt County, just because they were in the path of the new Interstate 581. I see a trend where the history of the minority community is erased and disrespected in the name of progress. This sacred historical site remains, and being so close to this entertainment district, I worry that the dignity of this graveyard is at risk. It is also a slap in the face of the Black community to imply that this entertainment district is a new concept, when on this same plot of land there was once a vibrant and thriving entertainment district that was destroyed during the destruction of the Gainsborough community. Another concern of mine is the impact on Roanoke residents. How does this benefit us as a city? I don't see a casino factoring in positively for people considering relocating here. Career opportunities, outdoor amenities, and an excellent school system are more likely to be a deciding factor. One effect of the casino that has been stressed is the jobs it will bring. Median pay for casino workers is $35,630 per year, or $17.13 per hour, less than what the city deemed a living wage for its own employees. The possibility of lowering property taxes and raising funding for our schools was another enticing factor waved about. From my understanding, Roanoke would receive 6% of the first $100 million each year from the casino. That's $6 million. Roanoke City's public schools already know what a bad deal level funding is. This will be no different. The RCPS is in a $9 million budget deficit this year. Even if the schools received all of those funds, which it won't even make up for the funding cuts this council has decided on for education. $6 million is a drop in the bucket when it comes to city budgets. Lastly, I am concerned about the mental and social impact on our community. According to studies on the effects of casinos on a community, the damages are diverse and could have severe socioeconomic consequences such as economic distress, homelessness, mental disorders, health issues, and domestic violence. This could have a drastic negative impact on our already dire situation with drug addiction and homelessness in Roanoke. I am sure this casino is benefiting someone. I just don't believe it will be the citizens of Roanoke. Thank you for your time.
Next two speakers.
Mary Frazier, Stephen Paul.
Welcome.
Hello, City Council. It's good to see you all. Hope you are well. My name is Mary Frazier. I am a student here in Roanoke. I should say my opinions and words here do not represent Virginia Tech, as I'm a medical student there. But I am here because I have many neighbors who I see often, either my neighborhood or on my way to my school or in the free clinic not far from where I live. And I've heard a lot of frustration and even maybe some fear about my neighbors, about their very existence and being able to see them. And I can understand a lot of the fear and the maybe misunderstanding. So I would like to say some words tonight about what we can do to actually bridge some of those maybe misunderstandings, maybe some of those disconnections between our neighbors. I'm talking about the folks who are without homes, our unhoused neighbors. And I'm hopeful that this council will do what is not only evidence-based to help these neighbors and those who are surrounding them, but also human-centered actions to help our neighbors. In medicine, we, as has been said already, we know that further criminalizing or impoverishing folks with fees that comes with being incarcerated or being fined does not help them and does not help us who are around them. I think that if we really want to make meaningful change, that we can see that housing and resources are the ways forward taking away resources, like taking away accessible bus system or taking away sleeping bags or tents because someone is without a home is not the way forward. The way forward is partnering with the folks who have lived experience and finding ways to get resources to them so that we can actually get to a place where people are living well and everyone benefits from it. I just want to end by saying I'd like to challenge this idea of that there are those who are deserving versus undeserving. I would like to challenge the idea that anyone is not deserving of a home, that anyone is not deserving of kindness, and that not anyone is undeserving of the very human need of sleep. So thank you all for listening, and I appreciate your work. Thanks.
Mr. Paul, welcome.
Hi, my name is Stephen Paul. I don't really have any prepared remarks, but the reason I came here was I just recently read the article about the casino, and I was really distressed. It seems like it's almost a done deal. I know maybe there's a vote about it, but there's been no news on it. How did this come about? I want to add my support to those who've voiced their opposition to it. I think it's a really bad idea. It's stupid. Go to the Vinton casino. Get a flavor of that. Go to any casino in this country that's not in Las Vegas. The ones in Las Vegas are gross enough, but the ones that spring up to try and milk the people from their money, it's a disgusting thing. And I can't believe that you would even consider putting a casino in Roanoke when we have so many great other features about this town. So I hope you will reconsider. I don't know if you've considered. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of information about it, but I would hope that you would all not perform yet another horrible act on the Gainsborough area by bringing a casino here. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker, and I'm sorry I cannot understand or read the first name, but it's Miss Anderson? Do you?
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager, members of council, my name is Graham Anderson. I'm a business owner in Roanoke City, 2110 Shenandoah Valley Avenue. One of the main businesses is Dr. Pepper Park. Now, I'm going to say I don't pretend to have all the answers to this problem, but we have had a steady rising homeless population, I would say probably over the last 5 or 6 years. So I took it upon myself last week to go out and interview some of these homeless people, give them some money for some food, talk to them with compassion. What I've been finding is over 50% of the people that I have talked to are not from this area. And I'm not just talking Salem, Botetourt. I'm talking Florida, Chicago, Atlanta. It seems to me that municipalities are actually busing people in to this area. So, and I'm also being told by the police officers that crime is down in Roanoke. So statistically, crime is down in Roanoke, and I see some heads nodding. But what I'm also being told by a credible source is that police officers are also down. Right now, I believe the city is down 25 officers. I think, and I don't know that these numbers are 100% correct, but I've been told by a credible source the city's down 25 officers and the sheriff's department is down 15 officers. So that's 40 officers that are down. So if we have 40 less officers now than we did however many years ago, it would make sense that crime numbers are coming down because we don't have 40 officers on the street arresting people. So I'm here to ask the council, can we all work together in a humane fashion to maybe increase the police force, enforce the laws that we have, and maybe use the program that you have to return some of these homeless people to where they came from, hopefully reuniting them with the families. Because there has to be a better way for everybody involved in this city. We've all seen the rise in homelessness. We've seen the increase in crime, although we're being told that crime is down. Let's be real. Crime is not down. We've been burglarized more times than I can count. And I'm sorry you had to listen to my wife cry earlier, but I've listened to it time and time and time again. And it's got to the point now where a neighborhood's gotten involved in South Roanoke. We have some fairly well-to-do people. Some of those people just want them out of their neighborhood. That's not cool either. You know, we shove them out of their neighborhood, where are we going to push them? Southeast? Northwest? We have a big problem here that needs addressing. And rather than just shuffling these homeless people outside of downtown, which we did, we shoved them outside of downtown by an ordinance that was changed, which pushed them into these neighborhoods. Let's address this problem and both sides work together to try to fix this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tiffany Sandifer and Jessica Bookout.
Welcome, Ms. Sandifer.
Good evening. Thank you, City Council, for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I know several of you personally. Some of you I don't have the pleasure yet. I wanted to address you today about poverty. Not just about homelessness, but about poverty, what causes it, and how we can fix it. Poverty is a social disease that infects not only those who suffer from poverty, but also all of those community members who surround those folks. Many of you have known me for several years. Some of you have only met me recently, but it may come as a surprise that for the past 2 to 2.5 years, I have been living on the edge of homelessness. I lost my job. It was a good job. And because I had some physical and mental health challenges after losing that job, it was really hard to get back on my feet. The amount of resources that we devote to not in my backyard, the amount of energy that we give to characterizing poor people as morally repugnant or somehow as a moral failure because they are poor is truly astounding. I'm not a bad person because I'm poor. Without the help from my father and gracious community members, some of whom are here tonight, I would have been homeless years ago, along with my 2 children, who some of you all also know. I was privileged and fortunate enough to have a family to help me. The people who are living on the streets today in Roanoke, whether they came here looking for better opportunities to maybe get off the streets or whether they have always been here, deserve to have a community, a family, to help them get back on track. Now, I'm fortunate because now things are looking up for me. I have a great job again. I have reliable transportation again, and I never lost my home despite coming horribly close. So I just want to invite you, please, as you are listening to folks talking to you about solutions, I don't want you to see these people as problems to be solved. I want you to see them as neighbors and family members who have been disconnected from their community, and they desperately need your help to be reconnected. Thank you.
Look out. Welcome.
Thank you. Council, Mayor, City Manager. My name is Jess Bookout, and I wanted to speak about the housing crisis that is in Roanoke. I moved out here about 7 years ago from Portland, Oregon, and I feel like I'm watching what I saw happen there happen again here. And I've spoken about it to pretty much anyone who would listen since I moved here and started working in human services. Everyone has a story to tell, and we have to keep telling our stories. That's people that live in the fanciest areas of Roanoke and people that are living on the streets. We're all deserving of the need to, we're all deserving of a place to call home. That's one of the hierarchies of need. And we know that in order for people to lift themselves up, they need a stable place to be able to go to every day, to take a shower, to receive mail. Portland State, my alma mater, did a study on the housing issue out there. They looked at tiny home villages. It was very successful. I may have sent some of y'all a link about that. There's a lot of great information in there, so I'm going to encourage you guys to read it because I think everyone in this room is wanting a solution, an answer. And while we do have shelter, there's a million reasons congregate shelter is not for everyone. Some people don't go to them because they're keeping themselves safe and or maybe out of trouble. Recently, I've started working with veterans who suffer from a lot of mental health issues, who are also very highly decorated and living on our streets. That's something that I have been, processing over the last few months. But I think it sounds like everyone here wants an answer, and we need to start thinking outside of the box. I've been waiting to see when the meetings for the Hope and Home initiative start, because I hope to be there and to share ideas, to share what I see, and hopefully figure out a way to move forward in this city where everybody is welcome by everyone and where everyone can have a safe space to go to at night and wake up from in the morning. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Keely Meadows and Rita Joyce. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of a friend of mine who gave me permission. His name's Brad. He lived at the rescue mission for a couple years. He lived in Catawba before that, was homeless the entire time. Being homeless in Catawba, as you can probably imagine, is not very easy. As well, I've heard people talk about transplants from Chicago, from elsewhere. They're probably coming here because they've criminalized homelessness in Chicago and made it illegal for them to exist there, which is exactly our fear right now with Roanoke. So when we talk about, for example, people living with mental health disabilities, and they're homeless because of their mental health disability. No, they're not. How about let's try to make sure that they don't kill themselves, and then we can worry about other things like getting them a house, etc. How about with addicts, we make sure that they don't die while using, and then we can make sure that they get a house, they get the help that they need. But they can't do that until they have the like core things, the most important things that are in their life that are affecting them. Like I said, addiction, mental health, domestic abuse. If we're not making sure that we are staying on top of those things, then they're not going to be on top of those things either. Not only do we have Blue Ridge Behavioral Health, which there are a lot of criticisms about that place, we have even better places like Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition. We have, even for example, the Bus Riders of Roanoke Advocacy Group. They're doing great in advocating for public transport, which inevitably helps advocate for homeless people and their ability to move and exist freely. I guess all this to say, the overgeneralization of homeless people and how they act is crazy. Everybody has their own story. The fact that the trope that homeless people don't want help is ridiculous. They do want help, but there are not very many resources here, and the ones that we have are not great. There are multiple, I'm sure none of y'all would want to take a night at the rescue mission and hang out there for the night. So that's what I have to say about that. There's a Facebook group called, what is it, Save Roanoke? And it's actually diabolical and nasty. People will post pictures of homeless people, I guess to get the police on them. That's not gonna help their mental health or their addictions at all. That's not gonna help them get help. They're still out there doing that even after you call the police. So try and figure out a better solution. And yeah, sorry, I'm not as nice as other people, but a lot of people really don't like homeless people, and I really don't like them. They can find somewhere else to live, or they can give their house to those homeless people and stop complaining about it.
Thank you. Ms. Joyce?
Mayor Cobb,
Welcome.
Vice Mayor McGuire, City Manager Turner, thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening. My name is Rita Joyce, and I am President and founding member of Fed Up, Families Expecting Deliverance, Youth, and Prayer. I know a lot of you already. For over 2 decades, Fed Up has been the heartbeat of hope for families in Roanoke who have lost loved ones to gun violence. Born out of heartbreak and held together by faith, Fed Up was founded by 5 women. At the core of Fed Up's mission is compassion in action. When a family loses a child, a parent, or a sibling, Fed Up are often among the first to show up, not with fanfare, but with presence. We sat beside grieving mothers. We prayed with fathers who feel helpless. We hold space for children who don't understand why their world has changed. We show up when no one else does. Sometimes standing outside with families in the cold or dark, waiting together as their loved one is tenderly removed from the home. In these moments, Fed Up becomes a steady hand and a gentle voice that reminds families they are not alone. Throughout the year, our programs provide moments of light in the darkness. Christmas of Hope transforms a difficult holiday season into one filled with joy and belonging for children who have lost parents to gun violence. Our tree dedication ceremonies and art contests gives families meaningful ways to honor loved ones while fostering community healing. We also host monthly grief support meetings that offer a safe, welcoming space for anyone affected by gun violence to share, reflect, and heal together. Fed Up's partnerships with the City of Roanoke Youth and Gang Violence Prevention Team, the Roanoke Arts Commission, the Gun Violence Prevention Commission, and the Roanoke Redevelopment and Housing Authority helps us reach neighborhoods most impacted by loss, bringing peace and purpose back to places touched by pain. We also collaborate with Community Builders, a Roanoke City Public Schools initiative for at-risk youth, to provide mentorship and prevent cyclings of violence before they begin. In addition, Fed Up serves on the Roanoke City Rapid Response Team, arriving at the scene of violence to provide immediate emotional and spiritual support. In June, we recognize June as National Gun Violence Awareness, and thanks to the City Council a few years ago, they issued a proclamation honoring gun violence in June. Our impact isn't measured in numbers, but in lives touched. A parent who finds the strength to smile again. A child who learns joy is still possible. A community that begins to heal. Fed Up stands in the gap between grief and growth, turning mourning into movement. Our focus is now on capacity building, okay? And we would like the support of the City Council, the City Manager's Office. When you are thinking about funding, please, please think about Fed Up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce.
Gary Stein, Danny Clausen.
Welcome.
My name is Gary Stein, and in respect to time, I want to thank everyone over here on this side of the room that's been listening. Thank everybody over here on this side of the room that's been talking. And I learned a lot. I came to talk about 4 things, which I can get out of the way very quickly. It has to do with, if there are 3 parts of what we've heard tonight, one was about a community that was, for lack of a better word, lost. And then in the last 15 or 20 minutes or more, we've heard about our current community and its situation. And of course, I came to talk about this proposed housing development on Brandon. And my point about that is I wanted to encourage everybody to, behind me and in front of me, to consider the positive effects of a roundabout there at the end of Peters Creek where it meets Brandon, and another roundabout there at Direly where it meets Brandon. And then the only other 3 things about that project I wanted to suggest everybody to consider were the value of pocket parks, dog parks, access to the greenway, and this was a note that I probably got mixed in here from somebody else, but it was really about work together. And I'm a member of the thing that Adam's a part of, the Neighborhood Association. And once again, I'm going to keep it short. Thank everybody for being here and listening. Thank everybody for showing up and talking, because it gave me an opportunity to listen. Thank you again. Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Danny Clausen. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition. And I was prepared tonight to do a lot of deep breathing and managing of my blood pressure. And I have just been so moved by the way that the community has showed up tonight for our unhoused neighbors. There's a movement right now of a small minority, vocal minority, but a minority nonetheless, that is proliferating a lot of really nasty language in our communities. And it's interesting to me, although not surprising, that a lot of the nasty things that they are saying, particularly on Facebook, are anonymous because they know they're out of line. They know that what they're saying is hateful and full of stigma and prejudice and has no place in our community. And so they're not willing to sign their names. Because what they're doing is dehumanizing our unhoused neighbors. And as we all know, dehumanization across history is the first step in taking away someone's rights. And so tonight I'm here to remind our community that unhoused neighbors are not throwaway. They're not a problem, as someone else said. They are human beings, and they have the same rights and deserve the same dignity as any of our neighbors. I moved here from Atlanta. Should I be bused back home? Why does somebody that's fallen on hard times have to be kicked out of our town just because they weren't born here? At VHRC, which is the organization I direct, we're in the work of rehumanizing people. And we had a lot of volunteers and supporters come tonight to speak on behalf of our participants and clients and our community members. And I would actually ask them, can anybody that is here with VHRC, any of the volunteers or staff, can you please stand? Thank you. These are the people doing the hard work day in and day out, handing out tents and sleeping bags, getting people applications for SNAP and Medicaid, getting people connected to housing. 60% of our clients are unhoused or unstably housed, and we work every day to get them housing. We have a lot of challenges, and the challenges are only going to get more extreme. As our federal government continues to fail us, we're going to have to dig deep for solutions. And so for the people in South Roanoke that have been acting, quite frankly, so out of pocket the last few days, I encourage you to be a part of the solution by donating to organizations that are helping to solve this problem, particularly Ram House. I saw a comment, and I'll finish up here, on one of these Facebook pages that follow the money. Ram House is getting a second location. No, they are not. Their current location is crumbling around them. They are building a beautiful new center to connect people to a variety of services, a safe place for unhoused people to be in, out of the elements, and finding the community and the love that they deserve. So I recommend that everybody here that is concerned about homelessness go to their website, Ram House, and donate to help proactively solve this problem and take care of our community instead of tearing it apart. Thank you.
Katina Wright and Rob Kevin.
Could you say the first name again?
Katina
Katina.
Wright and Rob Kevin.
Thank you. Well,
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I had planned something a little bit different, but when Ms. Anderson was speaking, something that she said, I respect, but it just struck me as odd. She said she did not feel that she had a voice. And to me, that just blew everything out of the window that I was planning on speaking about. Because that's how our people feel. They feel they don't have a voice. She got very emotional standing here as she was speaking and said that, she just didn't know what to do. So she joined some groups and, stuff like that. That's what our people go through. They don't know what to do. They need guidance. And at Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition, we are trying to meet them where they're at, but also allow them to be their individual self and find what path that they want to take in life. And it's just so disheartening hearing, I don't even go on Facebook, this Saving Roanoke, whatever it is, I can't even look at it because it's heartbreaking. And I believe if more people will start standing up saying the stigmatizing language has got to stop, the bickering between everybody's got to stop, let's come together in unity and try to solve a problem. I have a Bump Buddy program. There's 2 recipients here from it that are very successful right now. Is it a perfect program? Absolutely not, but there is no perfect program. It's just, it allows people to get housing, get stable, get a job, get a car, as you'll hear Jessica speak shortly. To me, Roanoke is more than what this is. And Miss Anderson's husband, I would love to know where he's from because he has an accent that's not from Roanoke, and he's talking about bussing in people. If I would like to go to Florida or Atlanta, Georgia, or wherever it may be and live, that should be my right. We should not criticize someone just because they want to come into Roanoke. Who doesn't want to come into Roanoke? Roanoke is beautiful. We've just got a few little things that we have to work on. But I don't see our friends as homeless. I see them as family. And, it hurts that they're here tonight having to hear the stigmatizing language. And that's really all I have to say. I think I'm out of time anyway. But thank y'all for allowing me to speak.
thank you. Welcome.
This is all Googleable information, but Roanoke was #1 in crime 3 years ago, #3 last year, and #4 this year in dangerous and violent crimes. That shows me that the police department's doing a good job stopping gang violence. Homelessness has gone up. I haven't looked at the statistic lately, but something like 135%. The correlation of crime is not homelessness rising. I had an opportunity to switch careers. 2 months later, the pandemic hit. It was a really bad time to switch careers. I also have a rare genetic eye condition and stage 3 liver disease. Without BHRC, I'd be on my deathbed right now. But I've been on and off homeless for the last 6 years, going on 3 years consecutively now. I struggle for a job when sometimes I have to have an eye surgery that keeps me out of work for 6 months. The problem, as people are saying, not a problem, but I'm offering solutions. People ask me what Roanoke was like 20 years ago. I say it was cleaner. Used to find a garbage can on almost every street corner. I'm imagining budget cuts. We cut down trash bin pickup. We have a job crisis. People need jobs. You want litter not in the streets? Put more trash cans back on the streets. Porta potties, locks on the side of the roads. I understand that abandoned buildings and porta potties, we don't want people in because crime might happen. Crime's gonna happen either way. Let people at least have a bathroom so they're not on the streets doing that. Having the police, certain police, kick people out of abandoned buildings. I watched vets over the winter get kicked out at 2 in the morning. We got kicked out of an abandoned building into the rain, had to sneak back in, and then left in handcuffs, more or less threatened by police officers. And then people are mad that we're more visible on the streets. I live in the woods by myself. I have survival training other people doesn't have. I'm soon going to be offering that at BHRC. But stop making us so public. Don't until there's a better solution. And I've been following your task force very much because I like your outlook on it. It's going to take time. I like that you acknowledge that. But in the meantime, stop having solutions for us. Stop kicking us out. Stop criminalizing us. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Woods and Doug Hancock.
Welcome.
Thank you. This is my first time. I'm a little bit nervous. My name's Jessica Woods. I'm a volunteer at BHRC. I've been in recovery for 4 years this October. Met my mentor, Katina Wright. She brought me to the BHRC. I'm currently living in the Buck Buddy program for 4 years, and I'm a true testament of how loving unconditional programs can make a difference. I went from being a homeless active user to a responsible adult. Used to be living in a tent and stayed in shelter for a short period of time. I'm starting my peer recovery specialist classes Friday. My mentor has assisted me with job, a home, a car, mostly supported me with building a relationship back with my son. In February of 2026, I will be off probation. I'm here to say that people do recover. We are not a burden on the society. When we recover, we give back. It takes a lot of love and support. My baptism helped me find that support. When we cut off toxic relationships, that's when we need love and care to recover.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, council, thank y'all for allowing me to be here tonight and speak. 1 year ago today, it was a rough day. I overdosed, found myself in a bathtub of cold water trying to get myself back together. Well, a couple weeks later, I knew then I needed to do something different. I had somebody stand behind me and give me a chance. And with that chance, here I am today, standing a year recovery, pretty much now. And I work for Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition. I love doing what I do. I love the participants. I love the people. They are people. They're the same people that we are here today. The people that may be here that are from Atlanta, California, Florida, Georgia, wherever. You know, they may have came here around before the pandemic hit, started a business. Well, people started losing their jobs, losing hope. And when they lost all of that, what else was it to do? They had to hit the streets because they lost their homes, foreclosed. It was a bad time. They still might be here, who knows? I wished I knew the answer. All I want to do is see these people get help, see them get what they need. I show them love. unconditional love. You know, they people. I try to give them comfort, whatever they need. Give them the tools that they need to survive. You know, I've been out in the mornings at 4 o'clock in the morning, 20 degrees, giving out sleeping bags, tents, whatever they need. You know, November last year, when I was getting myself straightened out, it was just a blessing from God. You know, was just one morning we woke up, me and Katina Wright, we got up, we went out, bought breakfast, biscuits and gravy, coffee, went out passing them out. 5, 6 o'clock in the morning doing that, showing them love, because they are people. You know, I was unhoused. I was living in the streets. I wasn't there alone. I know what they're going through. They are people, people that need help. These bunk buddy programs are working. You know, 4 or 5 of them, whatever it takes, they go in these homes. They work. That might be something y'all could think about. I don't know. I wish I knew all the answers. I do. I know I'm out of time, but I could stand up here all night long and talk, because I love talking. All of them know it. But, you know, they people, same as we are. Let's just try to give a hand out to them and help.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right. That's all of our speakers.
That's all of our speakers.
Well, I want to thank everyone who took the time to be here tonight, to share your experiences, your insights, your ideas. I would encourage folks at home to watch tonight's meeting. I appreciate everyone being respectful, because I think that allowed us to listen more deeply to each other and understand each other a little bit better, and help us recognize that we're all part of this community. So, there being no further business to come before the council tonight, we will be in recess for a last closed meeting this evening.